In the federal system, they call it supervised release, but it's full of hidden rules. And if you don't know them, or if your loved one doesn't know them, those rules, if broken, can send you back to a place that you don't want to be. So in today's video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about supervised release so that you can maintain your freedom and continue to thrive and succeed in your life on the outside. I just recently got out of the federal system. As recent as last year in June, I was released into the halfway house. I spent a year in the halfway house, and after that year, I was released out into society underneath supervised release conditions. Now, in that time, I didn't spend that time idly. I worked hard, and I continue to work hard today to continue to build my life in a way that is progressive, that is righteous, that is of value to someone, not even just myself, but people outside of me. I want to have a life and live a life that's valuable to people outside of myself and outside of my immediate family. And that's why we created Granted Pro Se, to help people who are in need. And so I've been doing that since I got out of the federal prison. I will continue to do that. And in fact, I started that journey of service prior to me even leaving incarceration. It started while inside. And while inside, I used to help people with their legal work. I actually taught myself law. I taught myself the application of law while sitting in prison underneath a 15-year federal bid. I like to think that I spent my time wisely. I read profusely. I read an abundance of different topics and built my knowledge bank so that I could be of assistance to myself in my own case, which I was. I actually filed my own motion for compassionate release underneath 3582 C1A, and that motion was actually granted, and I got time off my sentence. And this is why I can sit in front of you today and articulate this thing to you and teach other people how to be a benefit to themselves. Because I went out and did it myself, I learned from real-time experience. So when I got out, I decided to delve more into the paralegal field. I actually got my paralegal certificate while in prison. So even to this day, what happens is people who know me, they contact me and they look for help and assistance with their pro se work. And even some brothers and sisters, for that matter, who were inside, they may call me and contact me to help them with situations that they have going since they've made that transition out into the free world. One particular brother who will, remain nameless, he just called me recently. Good man. He's been out of prison for about the same time I have. He got out last year in 2024, and the same month, actually, in June of 2024, he went directly into a condition of supervised release. Whereas, I went into the halfway house first. He went directly into supervised release. That happens with some brothers and some people who are in the federal system. You may get into a situation where you are released, or your loved one is released directly into society. So you don't have that bridge of connection where you are debriefing and becoming reacclimated back into society through the halfway house like I had the advantage to do. Some people are pushed right out into a situation where they are pushed right into society in a more potent way. So this is what happened with this brother. But, and I do have a lot of respect for this brother, because he went out there and he went directly into the streets as a free man and underneath supervised release conditions, and he has done great for himself. He's based out of Tennessee. He with his wife was able to acquire a home, and they've been doing great things. He started a painting company. He's been doing great things with that, and with his business partner with that. They get jobs, and it's picking up steam, and he's working to scale that. He's done a lot of great work in the community, with working at different churches and offering his services for free, and sometimes to these churches and these organizations that are about community development. All of that he's accomplished in about 15 months of being in supervised release condition. Now, just recently, the brother has, and a lot of people will do who are on supervised release, this brother, he went and he applied himself to gain a higher education. And he went in and he went to go get his CDL license, and he wants to do trucking. You know, he's got a lot of information for a lot of brothers who have been doing it for years, and they've been very successful for what they've done with their trucks. So this brother, he went in and he got his trucking license after working very hard and putting his own hard-earned cash into, you know, paying for these schools and being able to get the certificates and the licenses and pay those fees to get those, right? He did all this work, he got his truck, and he landed a job that would have secured him financially way more than what he's currently been able to bring in each month. So everything was looking good. But just recently, the brother had to call me because he had an issue. And I'll post also the text message that the brother sent me. The text message that I will show you guys in here on this video, this text message really outlines not what the brother is saying, but what the response he's getting from his supervised release officer. So he got basically denied this job opportunity, not from the person that was actually giving him the opportunity to do the job. They wanted him, but as a condition of supervised release that a lot of people are not aware of, you are bound to certain geographic locations. You are not able to go outside of a regional stem. So what they will do, wherever you are stationed at in a federal system, and this brother, he's in the Eastern District of Tennessee. So in the Eastern District of Tennessee, just like all other districts that you could be sentenced underneath in the federal system and actually be sentenced to for probation, you have a certain amount of counties within that district oversees. And so now this brother, he is bound to those 40 some odd counties within the Eastern District of Tennessee. I had to actually fact check that number, see how many counties it is, and I can probably even post and give you guys a map of the Eastern District region and where he can go and travel to without any issue. Now, let me make this very understood. We can travel anywhere. You know, a federal ex-convict can travel anywhere as long as you have the permission of your probation officer. You know, so whoever is in charge of your case and is coming in and is required to make sure that you are following the conditions imposed on you by the courts, they have the discretion to push your paperwork along or your request along to leave outside of the jurisdictional region. So in this particular case, the brother is wanting to travel to be able to deliver these loads. He got this job. He's ready to go outside of the state and travel interstate to take on this job as a CDL driver, is transporting different products and goods to one area to the other. But he got this text message and his probation officer is letting him know that they won't allow him to do this. Now, a few things that you must know about federal probation is that your jobs must be approved. You know, they must be put in a certain way that your probation officer has knowledge and awareness of what you're doing to bring in a gainful income. You know, you just can't, or you're not supposed to go out and start bringing in an income in any way without making your probation officer aware of your means of bringing in income, right? So if that's the case, you know, now your job must be approved at that point. Now the probation officers, it's not a situation where, you know, in most cases where the probation officer will need to pre-approve you before even getting the job and starting the job. It's just a situation where they must be made aware. And then after that awareness is coming in and they know, okay, this guy's working at A, B, or C, then they can then come out and say, okay, we're okay with that. We agree with him working at A or B or C. In this case, where he's trying to go outside, or his job would require him to go outside the state, he did the right thing by going and discussing this with the probation officer first. And in my humble opinion, the probation officer at that time needs to be able to take a strong assessment of the character that he's dealing with. And this particular brother hasn't had any kind of incidents or situations that, should cause alarm or caution in the last 15 months of him being in probation. So in my humble opinion, the probation officer should have at that point been okay with allowing him to travel around the states within the route. It's definitely if the brother is willing and able to give him the routes that he's traveling on and the time frames in which he's traveling beforehand. The industries that could be blocked by a probation officer is, when you're doing a travel, like we're speaking about in this situation here, or when you're doing night shifts, or, underneath certain employers. There's certain employers that invite a certain dynamic of risk to a brother that, or a sister for that matter, that may have once been on or in the prison. So if you're involved in some type of criminal activity in your past life, and that involves drugs, or that involves some level of any kind of scrutiny that could be applied to a certain level of job. Like if I'm going in to bounce a club that is known to be a little rowdy, a little reckless, then my probation officer, once he hears about my job, that I'm in an environment that is more than likely going to have people there that engage in activities that are negative or maybe even illegal, my probation officer may be a little cautious about allowing me to do that type of job. So just to give you that kind of understanding, denials always don't make sense. Sometimes the denial that you get from your probation officer is not going to make sense to you. They're going to have their reasons. And in this particular case, as I explained to the brother, with my belief in the situation, his probation officer is new to that particular office. So, that might have been the reason why he wasn't willing to go to bat for this man. He didn't feel comfortable engaging on that level. He didn't feel comfortable going to his supervisor and letting him know, hey, look, a guy on my caseload, he wants to go outside of the state bounds. We're going to try to make this happen. What do you think? He didn't want to push those bounds. So I believe that's what's going on in this particular case. And, whatever the case may be, just understand that sometimes you're not going to always agree or think that the reasoning that your probation officer is denying you makes sense. But you need to remain calm, and there are other avenues you can take to get you to where you want to go. Okay? So this is how you survive everything. Like, how do you survive probation and supervised release without getting yourself in a situation where you're going backwards instead of going forward? Okay? The first thing you need to do is, stay focused on goals that are about progression, that are about doing what's righteous, that's doing what's beneficial to yourself and those who are around you. That's number one. But still, even when you set your mind to do the right thing, there are going to be obstacles that come up and challenge your rightness. There are going to be obstacles that come up and test your patience. And in those moments, you need to remain patient, remain righteous, remain calm. It's very difficult to do in real time. Intellectually, we understand these are things that we must do. But when it's time to apply it real time, sometimes we fall short of the bar in the standard that we set for ourselves. But I implore everyone who is on supervised release, who has gone through these circumstances of a strenuous time behind bars and now are out in the world and trying to build a new and better life for yourself, to remain patient, remain calm when obstacles arise, and they will. I can't stress it enough. Document everything. I don't care if you have a good and wholesome relationship with your PO. These are people, they make mistakes, and when they do make a mistake, sometimes you may see a different side of them when you, as an ex-convict, who's trying to build your life back tries to tell someone who has authority over you at this time that they're wrong in some way, you will get a backlash sometimes in that situation. It's very rare that you find someone who's in a position of authority who's also humble enough to concede that they are incorrect in some type of evaluation of you. So in order to prevent that or circumvent that happening to you, make sure that you write down and document everything that happens to you. That means emails, text messages, not just the phone calls, but any kind of thing that you can put on paper that you can record, not for the sake of any vindictiveness or any negativity, but for the sake of security, securing yourself, securing your interests, making sure that you have the facts and the truth at all times, that is not somewhere that's out of your reach. Because I'm telling you, if you need to prove something, that you're right about something, that something was done and you don't have it in paper, then you're lying in court. It's gonna come across as a lie. If you don't have a factual documentation to prove that this is what was done, this is what was said, then it's gonna be a lie. It's gonna be taken as a lie because there's nobody else to support what you're saying except yourself. A fool rushes in where a wise man fears to tread. And that just simply means take your time. Take your time. Be observant. Look what's going on. Look before you leap type of thing. You need to be out here and start local first with your job searches, whatever you're intending to do for yourself to better yourself. Start local. Start small. Start underground. All right. Anyone with wisdom in their mind knows that you need to study your environment, right? A seed first is buried into the ground and covered with dirt. Then water is applied to that seed. There's a germination process that happens, and that seed, before it grows up, it grows down into the earth. It shoots its roots into the earth and has a stable foundation before it starts to sprout out and reach out to the light and be exposed for the world to see and view. So just be like the seed initially when you come out. Go out there. You know your potential. You know that you are a sequoia, but you need to be hidden at first while you're trying to root yourself and ground yourself. So hide yourself, cover yourself up in the dirt and remain local and remain hidden from view as you work underground to strengthen your foundation before sprouting up and shooting up from that dirt and exposing yourself for the world to view and the environment to come in to play. After about 6 to 12 months of you working hard and doing things undercover and you start to build that foundation, this is when you can start taking your steps outside of your locality and asking and requesting a little bit more leniency and elbow room, because now you've built a form of, rapport with your probation officer. He knows or she knows at that point who she's dealing with, or has an understanding, a profile, so to speak, of who you are and what she can come to expect from you, or he can come to expect from you, and how you live your life, right? And the character that you display. Ask about early termination of your supervised release after showing consistent progress. You have the ability by law and by statute to ask for termination of your supervised release after a certain period of time. And I'll probably do another video on that topic alone. We will go over that topic alone as far as like applying a motion for early termination for supervised release. Just know that that is available to you. But if that is something that you want to do, you need to establish yourself for that type of motion right now. You don't come to the table just because you meet the threshold of the time frame where they will allow you to do and place the motion. You need to have a strong, convincing, and compelling argument for a judge to exercise their discretion in modifying your sentence of supervised release, meaning that you need to be doing things that are above and beyond that shows that you are a pillar of the society and the community that you now sit in and work in, that you are a value piece, that you are a contribution, and that you don't take away, you give, right, to this community in a major way. And that would give anyone the gumption to say, okay, well, we don't need to have this extra layer of eyes on this person and these extra levels of restrictions on this person, because this person is helping the community. He does it or she does it on a regular basis. This is part of this person's character and their being. So let me make that way easier for them by taking them off of supervised release permanently. Supervised release isn't freedom. It's not freedom. It's a partial freedom, just like the halfway house. You got steps. The halfway house for me was a partial freedom. You're halfway in, halfway out. With supervised release, you're more than halfway out, but you still have some of your feet in, because at any time you can violate, and you can be violated by from simple things that were seemingly outside of your control, right? But nonetheless were against the rules and laws that were placed in front of you. Whereas someone else could do the same thing, like maybe be involved in some kind of altercation that brought about the police presence. Maybe you had to defend yourself or your loved one in a physical altercation outside, and you had to beat somebody down to protect your loved one. I'm just giving you an example of something that may seem like it's out of your control that could definitely send you back to prison and underneath a violation. These things right here show you that supervised release is not true freedom, because in the same situation, someone who's not underneath supervised release would be, nonetheless still in their free state. So with that in mind, it's incumbent upon anyone who is still underneath these restrictions to be aware and consider these facts and be more cautious in their everyday dealings. I hope this was able to help whoever needed to hear it. We will have more content available about this topic in the near future. If you have any questions, you can always hit me up, find me or any other paralegal that works with us at graniteprose.com. You can ask a paralegal any question that directly on our website, and we will do our best to answer those questions while still respecting UPL laws. This is not a law firm. We do not offer any legal advice. We do not offer any legal representation. For those who need the help and don't have the money to find an attorney, we're paralegals that are here to give you the extent of our knowledge and within the boundaries of the laws of UPL. This is graniteprose.com. I'm Joshua Newell. Thank you for listening.